the silence that felt wrong. Joon wasn't answering his phone. He was nowhere to be found. It was our wedding day. His groomsman said he'd gone back to his penthouse to get a lucky watch. I never knew he had a lucky watch before. A knot of cold dread tightened in my stomach. I took my maid of honor, Soo-min, and we drove to his place. I still had my key. The penthouse was silent, too silent, and then I saw it, a trail leading to his bedroom wing, a lacy black thong discarded on the marble floor. A few steps later, a man's dress shirt, and then the sound. Soft, feminine laughter followed by Joon's low, intimate murmur, a voice I knew as well as my own. My stepsister, Yuna. I pushed the bedroom door open. The scene is burned into my memory. Them, in his bed, in his wing, wrapped in the sheets I had chosen. The world didn't just shatter, it evaporated. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. A strange, icy calm settled over me. Joon scrambled out of bed, his face pale. Heeun, it's not what it looks like, we were just celebrating, I finished, my voice eerily steady. I looked at Yuna, who had the audacity to look smug. My wedding day, you chose my wedding day. I turned and walked out. I heard Joon calling my name, but it was a distant noise. Downstairs in the car, Soo-min was frantic. What happened? Are you okay? I looked at her, my eyes dry. Drive me to the venue. What, Heeun, no. Drive me to the venue, Soo-min. The show isn't over, it's just beginning. The wedding hall was a flurry of activity. 400 guests, including Seoul's elite, were waiting. My mother and stepmother were fussing over the centerpieces. I walked in, still in my jeans and t-shirt, my face a mask of stone. I found Joon's father, Chairman Kim Daejun, in the groom's ready room. He was a man in his late 40s, radiating an aura of power and control, adjusting his cufflinks in the mirror. He turned, and his sharp eyes took in my disheveled state, the absence of my wedding dress. Song Heeun SSI, what is the meaning of this? The meaning, I said, my voice cracking for the first time, is that your son and my stepsister are currently in his bed, together. The shock on his face was genuine. Then it was replaced by a storm of anger, not at me, but at the disgrace. This is an unforgivable dishonor. He stepped forward, his voice low and intense. To our family and to you, the wedding is off. I will make sure you are compensated. Compensated? I let out a bitter laugh. With a check, so you can all sweep this under the rug. The reckless, insane idea that had been forming in the car now burst forth. No, there's another way to settle this debt. He stared at me, his brow furrowed. What way? I looked him dead in the eye, the words leaving my lips before I could stop them. You marry me. The room went utterly silent. He didn't laugh. He didn't get angry. He simply assessed me. You are in shock. You don't know what you're saying. Oh, I do, I said, the plan crystallizing with terrifying clarity. In front of all those people out there, you announce that the wedding is proceeding, but the groom has changed. You tell them Joon is ill. That to avoid disappointing everyone, you, as the head of the family, will stand in. We present a united front. We save your family's public face, and I get my revenge. He was silent for a full minute, his gaze locked with mine. I could see the calculations happening behind his eyes, the scandal, the business repercussions, the sheer audacity of my proposal. You would bind your life to mine, a man you barely know, for revenge? He asked, his voice a whisper. Oh, it's not just for revenge, I lied, trying to sound convincing. It's about my survival. My name will be mud after this. This way I walk out of here with power, with your name. A slow, dangerous smile touched his lips. It wasn't cruel, but it was fierce. A marriage of convenience, to protect the Kim name and grant you status. He offered me his hand. Very well, Song Heeun. Let's go give them a wedding they will never forget. 20 minutes later, I was in my wedding dress. The music swelled. The doors to the grand hall opened, and 400 guests rose to their feet. But at the end of the aisle, it wasn't my handsome, young fiancé waiting for me. It was his father, the formidable Chairman Kim Daejun. The gasp that rippled through the crowd was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. I saw Joon and Yuna, forced to sit in the front row by Daejun's security, their faces a beautiful portrait of pure, unadulterated horror. I kept my eyes locked on Daejun. As I reached him, he offered his arm. His touch was firm, steadying. The priest, looking deeply confused, married us. When Daejun lifted my veil, his eyes held a strange mix of respect and amusement. "You are the bravest woman I have ever met," he whispered, just before his lips brushed mine in a chaste, yet earth-shattering kiss. The reception was a surreal dream. We played our parts perfectly. He was the doting, if unexpectedly older, groom. I was the radiant, blissful bride. We danced. We fed each other cake. We presented a picture of united, unshakable love that completely disarmed the gossip. That night, we returned to his penthouse, not June's. The silence was deafening. He led me to a guest suite far from his own master wing. "This will be your room," he said, his voice all business once more. "Our arrangement is public. In private, we live as respectful acquaintances." And so began the strangest chapter of my life. I was the lady of the house, but a ghost within it. Daejun was courteous but distant. He provided for me lavishly, but we were strangers sharing a massive, cold space. The spice came in subtle, unexpected ways. The way he'd defend me when Joon would call, screaming accusations. The way he noticed I loved a specific type of tea and had the house stocked with it. The way his hand would find the small of my back at a charity gala, a gesture that started as an act but began to feel possessive, protective, real. The real twist came a month in. Yuna, desperate and jealous, went to the press with a true story of how I was a gold-digging schemer who had seduced the father after the son rejected me. The scandal threatened Daejun's biggest merger yet. That night, I found him in his study, a glass of whiskey in hand, looking more tired than I'd ever seen him. "I can fix this," I said from the doorway. He looked up surprised. "How?" "I'll give my own interview. I'll tell the truth. I'll show them the security footage timestamp from June's building on our wedding morning. I'll tell them everything." He stared at me. "You would humiliate yourself, expose your own pain." "It's not about me anymore," I said, and I realized I meant it. "It's about us, this arrangement. They attacked you. They attacked us." The word "us" hung in the air. He stood up and walked over to me. He was so close I could smell his cologne, see the flecks of silver in his dark eyes. "Why are you doing this, Haeun? Revenge is one thing, this is another." I looked up at him, my heart pounding. "Because you've been kinder to me in this fake marriage than Joon ever was in our real one." He cupped my face, his thumbs stroking my cheek. The touch sent a jolt through my entire body. "Then let's fight together," he murmured. And then he kissed me. It wasn't chaste. It was deep, hungry, and full of a passion that had been simmering beneath the surface of our polite facade for weeks. It was the moment our marriage of convenience caught fire. That kiss in the study didn't just change things. It incinerated the last remaining wall between us. The carefully constructed arrangement lay in ashes at our feet, and what rose from it was raw, undeniable, and terrifyingly real. We didn't speak as he led me by the hand, not to my guest wing, but to his master suite. The room was a reflection of him, masculine, ordered, and powerful. That night, the lines between revenge and surrender, between a contract and a covenant, blurred into nothingness. Waking up the next morning tangled in his sheets, with his arm a heavy, possessive weight across my waist, was a shock to my system. The morning light streamed in, illuminating the proof of our new reality. I expected regret, but found only a profound, settling peace. He stirred, his dark eyes opening and immediately finding mine. There was no awkwardness, only a deep, simmering intensity. "Good morning, Mrs. Kim," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep, and the sound of my new name on his lips sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the cool morning air. He didn't pull away. Instead, his hand slid from my waist, tracing a slow, deliberate path up my spine, his touch both a question and an answer. The air crackled. The memory of the night before, desperate, passionate, a silent conversation of hands and lips flooded back. This time, in the clear light of day, it was slower. It was worship. He learned the landscape of my body with a patience and reverence that left me breathless, and I, in turn, discovered the hidden vulnerabilities of the great Kim Daejun. The small scar on his shoulder, the way he sighed my name like a prayer when he was truly, completely lost in me. Our days transformed. The penthouse was no longer a gilded cage but a home filled with quiet, shared moments. He started leaving later for work, just to have coffee with me on the terrace. I'd find notes in his elegant handwriting tucked into my sketchbook for the flower shop. The peonies reminded me of you, bold and beautiful. D. We became a team in every sense. He helped me craft the business plan for Heun's garden, his sharp business mind perfectly complementing my creative vision. One evening, I was stressed over supplier costs, surrounded by papers on the living room floor. He came home, shed his suit jacket, and got down on the floor with me. For 2 hours, this billionaire chairman, this feared titan of industry, helped me cross-reference flower wholesalers, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It's just a small flower shop," I said, overwhelmed by his dedication. He looked up, his expression completely serious. "It's your dream. That makes it the most important deal on my desk." In that moment, I didn't just love him. I fell in love with him all over again. The true test came at a high-stakes charity gala. Joon and Yuna were there, their presence a dark cloud. All evening, I felt their venomous stares. During a speech, a drunken Joon stood up, shouting, "How does it feel, father, to live with a woman who married you out of spite? She's just a gold digger playing a long game." The room fell into a stunned, horrified silence. All eyes were on us. My blood ran cold. This was the humiliation I had tried to orchestrate, now being turned back on me. Before I could even form a response, Daejun was on his feet. His voice, calm but carrying the weight of absolute authority, cut through the silence. "My son," he said, the word dripping with cold disappointment, "you speak of things you cannot possibly understand. You see a transaction where there is a treasure." He turned to me, his gaze softening in a way that was visible to everyone in the room. He took my hand, lifting it to his lips. "I did not save Heun. She saved me. She pulled me out of a life of lonely duty and showed me what it means to truly live, to love without conditions." His eyes never left mine. "She is not the gold digger. She is the gold. And your betrayal was the greatest fortune of my life because it brought her to me." The room erupted in applause. Joon slunk away, utterly defeated. But I didn't see him. I only saw the man who had just publicly laid his soul bare for me. Later that night, on our terrace, the city lights shimmering below like a carpet of diamonds just for us, he led me to a secluded corner filled with the jasmine flowers I loved. "Hyuna," he began, his voice unusually nervous. He dropped to one knee, pulling a small, velvet box from his pocket. Inside wasn't the massive, cold diamond from our first wedding. It was a unique, breathtaking ring, a delicate vine of white gold, studded with tiny diamonds, wrapping around a central, warm-hued sapphire. "This started as a contract," he said, his eyes glistening under the stars. "But every day with you has rewritten that contract into the most beautiful love story I could ever imagine. I don't want to be your husband of convenience anymore. I want to be your partner, your best friend, the man who gets to wake up beside you for the rest of his life. Song Hyun, will you marry me? Again. For real this time. For love." Tears of pure, unadulterated joy streamed down my face. I wasn't the broken, vengeful girl from the wedding day anymore. I was a woman, deeply and passionately loved. "Yes," I choked out, pulling him up to kiss me. "1,000 times yes, Kim Daejun." We had a small, sun-drenched ceremony in the garden of Heun's garden, surrounded by the vibrant, living proof of our love. As we exchanged our own personally written vows, I looked at this man, my protector, my partner, my passionate lover, and knew with every fiber of my being that my heart had led me to the right person, even if my head had been screaming for revenge. His son's betrayal wasn't the end of my story. It was the messy, painful, and utterly perfect beginning.